A man named Justin has the love of his life, April, stolen from him by a demon. With the help of a magical book, he is able to summon the demon named Lo, who he wants to bring him back April. Lo, begrudgingly, doesn't want to do it until he finds out more information about who April is, by playing out memories in his head and allowing Justin to see who April really is. Lo is a 2009 horror romantic comedy that deals on the subjects of what it means to love someone, what it means to trust someone, whether or not you really know a person. Through the trials, tribulations, observation, and experience of our main protagonist, it raises the question, what is a love story? The movie first introduces our main character, Justin, by showing that he is an everyday man. He stumbles around, setting up the lights, setting up the curse, and trying to follow step-by-step instructions of a book he doesn't really understand. Obviously, he's well in over his head, but the memories that he shared with April make it all worthwhile. It feels like it was the happiest moments in his life. This is what motivates him to constantly push forward and try to summon the demon Lo. And it's also what Lo is trying to understand. What specifically about those memories, what specifically about the experience that he had with April makes her so special that he's willing to not only sacrifice his life, but put his own life in danger, messing with powers beyond his understanding. And really, just trying to examine how he actually sees April. Lo, throughout the story, has abilities to manipulate a narrative, but he doesn't really do it that much. He more often than not just shows the memories from Justin's head, although they're done in a play format, they are still his memories. April seemingly not even knowing her own name, not really understanding the world around her, much like a fish out of water. For some reason, she's drawn into Jonathan's goofy charm. Maybe she sees an opportunity in him. Maybe she sees something weirder and deeper than there actually is. They both see something in each other, for good or for bad. There's something about each other that they feel they can trust one another. And as time goes on, they feel that they get to know who each other is. But there's a difference between who you think you know and who you actually know. And this becomes the crux of the entire story. Justin constantly doubts himself, not really sure if April is who she says she is, and refuses to accept the reality of what he thinks he knows about her, because he knows her in a way that people don't. Both can be true at the same time. It's his hope in the goodness of April that really does keep him going. The hope for a better future, an opportunity, who knows what, but a future nonetheless. That hope is the driving force that eventually determines what his actions are in the story. When they meet the demon G's, the one who caused a massive slice across his chest, nearly killing him, and the one who ends up taking April, we're only given a short, brief burst of instances of meeting him. But he's important enough to the story as a way to show us the unmitigated version of a demon. A person who just does things out of want, not necessarily requirements, needs, or emotions. Just for fun. He doesn't quite understand why Justin persists so readily. The Demon G's decides to show through a song and transitions that April isn't at all what she seems. She is a demon. She is the very thing that Jonathan fears, the thing he must face, the thing that he has been conversating with and disgusted and hated by. But just as Lo says, April and Lo are of the same ilk. To hate one is to hate another. And this bombshell of information makes Justin question everything. Lo shows some of the souls that were tormented by April. They talk about how they've been tortured, what they wanted in exchange, and Lo wants to settle in to what exactly she is, and if he still wants to proceed further. While Justin is contemplating what he intends to do, a waiter randomly appears to make him a drink that will calm his nerves. Stupidly, Justin decides to take the drink. Lo reveals it was poisoned. Now he knows Justin has limited time to make a final decision. With even Lo and the Demon G's separately pleading with him to close the book, burn it, and go on with your life, despite having a constant argument with himself, still proceeds to go further. In one final flashback, Justin sees the truth, that April tried fighting off the Demon G's, and in the crossfires, Jonathan had been killed. April agreed to go back to hell with her lockbox in exchange for healing Jonathan. G's agrees, and that's where we've been all of this time. Justin, having had enough, snaps at the demon Lo to scour hell and bring her in front of him. And as Justin is dying, the lights flicker and we see April, happy to see her. She's happy to see him. She tells him to read a passage in the book. This allows her to get closer, where they finally are able to kiss. She removes all of the poison out of the drink inside of him and spits it out into a glass, and tells him that everything he heard about her is true. And despite everything that Justin has seen, he still doesn't care. He just wants to be with her. He wants to be happy. He wants to have a future with her. But April knows that's not a possibility, that she can't leave. And so she makes him promise her, with everything he has, to burn the book after this is over, to have a good life, and to let her go. She then tells him to read one last passage before giving him one final kiss goodbye. And as the story ends, we see April crawl away and turn into her real form as the demon Lo. Justin, finally understanding everything, burns the book just as he promised. So, what is a love story? If we look at the context of the story as a whole, it deals with things like regrets, secrets, knowing a person, and memories. And while those are very important, it's just as important, if not more important, to really understand a person. To know that for good or for bad, in this case, demon or human, faults, mistakes, problems, even terrible things, you ultimately can decide whether or not that matters. Whether or not you can just accept a thing for a thing. With the idea of maybe not knowing April at all. Maybe never really knowing her. Maybe she didn't know him either. But the truth of it is, and the reason why Lo is such a good love story, is through all of the faults, all of the mistakes that Justin made, and all of the horrors and atrocities that April made, they still didn't care to each other. All that mattered was accepting each other, knowing that they did know each other. They loved the purest version of each other. Even though April was the demon Lo, throughout the entire story, she tried warning him, tried telling him to turn away. She tried telling him to get rid of her, to burn the book, to live a life, be happy. But Justin refused, not ever seeing a happy future without her. And maybe he won't, but he will have an opportunity, an ability to say goodbye, the closure of who they are. And just like the very book that Lo had given Justin, that he opened, used, read through, and eventually burned, true love is only as powerful as how much you put into reading it. It's just as important to know when to open and when to close it. But in the end, these aren't answers, they're hypotheticals.
some form of Elvish. I can't read it.
There are few who can. In the common tongue, it says, one ring to rule them all. One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all. And in the darkness, find them.